Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to the Council on Future Conflict. My name is Scott. I'm a proprietor of the Future Conflict channel. Today we're on episode 520. Racism and Germany steps up. It's almost like those in history, those two would be very connected, but in this case, they're not. Gentlemen, it's been a good week so far. So let's jump right into how you're doing, Joe. What sounds like you got a good day on tap?
I'm going to start out with some shenanigans out at the range, and then I've got some work planned here on my battle against Charlie Bear, who is named Charlie Bear because his infiltration skills rival that of the Viet Cong. He was able to get in and get to the trash left by all the folks who were here. So we tried some chemical warfare last night with bleach. So we'll see how that worked. But barring that, we're going to throw up some electrical fence today and convince Charlie Bear to find food elsewhere. He's not a very big bear. My dog is bigger. They're probably about the same size, but he's kind of a chicken. He ran from me in the quad for hours. And a little game of chicken. So it's gonna be a good time. And for the record, I just sent you that information in your Hotmail, Scott.
Okay, great. Watcher, how you doing?
Tired. Also weirdly similar but smaller issue than Joe. Raccoons on my end. Basically bears, just smaller. So after a long night of patrolling to find the one that I saw, enormous little bastard, by the way, if I do say so myself. It looks like it probably could have eaten a small Labrador puppy, but so I will also be out long tonight baiting a raccoon.
Very cool. Guys, we've got we've got some controversial topics today. Like I haven't really wanted to kind of wade too much into this whole kind of black fatigue issue, but there's a lot of kind of really targeted stuff popping up. And, Andy No has done some reporting that kind of has covered this. And we also, we've had a bit of a reset on the nation's ideas, with the essentially casting off of DEI. So we'll be talking a little bit about that because the Summer of Love was all about, like, it was an Antifa operation, but the thing that gave it horsepower was the disaffected urban population, right? And thus, instead of attacking anybody who may have actually caused them harm, they attacked their own communities and burnt down, things in their own community and killed. I think the number for the death toll for the Summer of Love was officially around 23. I think. So it'll be interesting. We're gonna parse that topic a bit, and of course, like I said, the Germany's going to step up and be the new security guarantor, I guess. So that's their I don't know, delusion. Probably the right word for it, but that's their delusion within NATO. And so we're going to kind of dive into both of these. Some information coming out about potential stuff going on with Russia, and of course, Trump has basically said that this deal that they have right now is the best deal that Russia will ever get. So we'll see about that. But before we get to those main topics, let's go through the odds and ends. So Joe, we've been kind of talking about this whole, pushing pause on any kind of Syrian hostilities. And evidently the administration is, I tell you what, you say what you will about Donald Trump. He's generally a man of his word. When he says he's going to do something, you start to see things happen that are generally, his intention to keep up what he says. And in this case, Stars and Stripes raised over U.S. Embassy in Damascus, now with Syrian Al-Qaeda founder as country's president. What's your first take when you just kind of see this headline?
This is moronic. This is us establishing an embassy to Al-Qaeda. They still murdered 3,300 Americans. So.
Well, yeah, the interesting thing is there's looks like a 2-star general there. You got a Marine there. And let's see, I don't know. Let's read the story and see what's up. In the first time since 2012, an American flag has been raised over the long-shuttered U.S. Embassy in Damascus. The U.S. ambassador to Turkey, Tom Barak, along with some U.S. Marines, were on hand for the flag-raising ceremony for the reopening of the ambassador's residence, which marks another huge milestone in the wake of Bashar al-Assad's December 8th overthrow as Al-Qaeda-linked HTS took over the country. With the regime, the Bashar al-Assad controlled portion of the country is kind of one of the things that we've been mentioning here. He does not control the whole country. Well, Assad didn't control the whole country either. Saudi Arabia and other Gulf and American money is quickly pouring in, and in the wake of President Trump having lifted the long in place sanctions, the Ambassador Barak met with Syrian President Jilani and attended the signing of an agreement of the consortium of Qatari, Turkish, and U.S. companies to develop a 5,000 megawatt energy project to revitalize some of Syria's battered electrical grid. The Washington Post details under the deal signed Thursday, a consortium led by Qatar's UCC Concessions Investments, along with Power International USA and Turkey's Kalyan GES, will develop 4 combined cycle gas turbines with total generating capacity at approximately 4,000 megawatts and 1,000 megawatt of solar power plant. The U.S. led sanctions ultimately serve to punish the Syrian population, even as Western officials feigned humanitarian concern about the suffering of the masses. But all along the Western and Gulf capitals poured billions in arms, munitions, and training into the hardened jihad groups, including HTS, led by the one-time ISIS emissary al-Jilani, which helped fragment and burn the country to the ground.
It's funny. They use the term "one time" as if that implies, he did it for like a week, right? At one time was like for years on end.
Yeah, that's a great point, Joe. And he consistently stayed, like, even when he left ISIS, he didn't leave ISIS and go like join a monastery. He left ISIS to go to another radical Islamic terror group. So, I mean, it's kind of like, he went from strength to strength. Let's see.
Like people can't be trusted in any way, shape, or form. Huh. That's just crazy. That can't be true.
Syrian, let's see, what is this guy in this video here? Syrian Armenian Christian and geopolitical analyst explores an interesting theory and reporting on what happened in the immediate lead up to Assad fleeing. Hey, you guys want to give this a listen? This is a theory about why the Syrian army just disintegrated.
A battlefield mystery begins to unravel. The date, November 27, 2024. The location, Aleppo. The event, a stunning collapse. In just 12 days, the once feared regime of Bashar al-Assad crumbled. To the world, it seemed impossible. To analysts, it was shocking, and to many, it remains inexplicable. But now, new evidence surfaces. An explosive investigation by New Lines magazine reveals a chilling high-tech twist in Syria's unraveling. Not a bomb, not a drone, but a mobile app. Its name, the Syrian Development Organization, its cover, a so-called humanitarian initiative allegedly backed by First Lady Asma al-Assad. Its promise, monthly support for soldiers, barely $40, but its true purpose, espionage. From the moment soldiers downloaded the app, they were feeding it data, names, birthdays, family ties, but then deeper still, military ranks, unit locations, brigade and battalion numbers. Behind its smiling interface, the app was a sophisticated digital spy. A Syrian software engineer confirms every detail was fed into real-time mapping systems. Weak spots identified, strongholds marked, and the Julani terror army ready to strike. The app didn't stop there. There was a Facebook login button, which was just another trap. Social media credentials stolen. Once installed, it unleashed SpyMax. So invasive, it accessed calls, messages, photos, even live camera and microphone feeds. The result, pinpoint attacks, disrupted supply chains, conflicting orders from hijacked command structures. The regime's lines dismantled from within. Who was behind this digital dagger? That remains a mystery, but one server linked to the hack was traced to the United States, a country that has long supported Julani. Coincidence? I think not. While investigators are uncertain, the suspects range from local Al-Qaeda factions to shadowy intelligence networks operating far beyond Syria's borders. It's not the first time cyber warfare has reshaped the battlefield. In 2020, a forgotten phone left inside a Russian Pantsir system operated by the Syrian army led to an Israeli airstrike that destroyed it. The rules of war are changing, and in Aleppo, the front line wasn't just dirt and concrete, it was code, deception, and the weapon that fits in your pocket. This is not just a story of collapse, it is a warning. In the wars of tomorrow, the deadliest weapon might just be an app.
That's actually pretty interesting. Yeah, pretty interesting.
Click that button again.
How about now? Yeah, there we go. So pretty interesting there. The whole idea is that the app was basically a spy, and because it was charitable giving to the soldiers, they were motivated to download it. That's actually pretty sneaky. Sounds almost Israeli at its level of sophistication.
It'll actually be interesting to see how the new Syrian army is branded, because Bashar al-Assad's army was called the Syrian Arab Army, which implied that Kurds were not welcome and Yazidis were not welcome, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see how it all reappears. And yes, Dad, I'm on it.
Let's see. The U.S. Embassy closed up all operations in Damascus in protest of the Assad government in 2012 as the proxy war ramped up. The embassy still kept its online presence and operations from neighboring Jordan, and it often referred to people to consult with the U.S. Embassy in Beirut. At the time, U.S. Ambassador to Syria, Robert Ford, had actually traveled to various cities in Syria, fomenting street protests and revolution against Assad. And all the while, the CIA was pumping weapons into the insurgency. And many of these Islamic fighters had ironically come from Iraq, where they had just spent years blowing up Americans and Iraqi civilians. Meanwhile, the jihadists now in control of the Syrian state have been engaging in ethno-religious cleansing or score settling, especially in coastal areas near Tartus and Latakia. This involved mass killings of Alawites, Christian, Druze, and sectarian fighting, which has at times entered in the environment of Damascus. Yeah. So, guys, this is interesting. I can't help but think that there is like another thing at play here. I think maybe Trump's idea is that if we allow them to all of a sudden get successful and rich, then they'll stop fighting and they'll start living La Vida Loca or whatever. But
That's a pretty silly amount of hopium. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. I mean, Joe, if they didn't have any internal enemies, it's kind of like if it was like HTS fighting the Syrian army and then the Syrian army collapsed and HTS took over and they didn't have any internal enemies to kind of, then it'd be one thing. But they still have like the rebels in the western coastal regions. They've got the Syria. The Israelis in the south, the Druze, which are kind of flocking to the Israeli safe areas. They've got the Kurds. They've got the separate Turkish administrated area of Syria that it controls. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. And let's be honest, there's still some ISIS out there as well.
Sort of. But yeah,
it's remnants. It's not like they don't have any real power, but still, So I don't know, man. This whole thing just something. I feel like there's another shoe to drop. I don't know. Maybe that has to do with some of the other operations that are going on in this same region. Let's see. Cerebus for $10 Australian. Imagine my shock. The CIA. I know, right? It's absolutely crazy. That's crazy talk. Let's see. Blaine, our good buddy Pardo, says Trump wants to profit if they become stable. If they remain dillweeds, they'll see the problem of the local countries. No, I think that's not far off. I think it's one of those kind of things that I think Trump's willing to throw money at problems, but not soldiers. And if he can take a win, then great. If not, then no skin off his chin. All right. I'm sorry, I've got the. Oh, just give me a second here. All right. Sorry, I had the YouTube was giving me kittens in the other. It still is now. God damn. Watcher Joe, anything else to say on Syria based on what we're hearing here?
Syria is still a failed country. They are not in control of the whole country.
Yeah. Where do you? I mean, do you think I think they're in. If the best case scenario, I think, is that they're in a biding their time kind of scenario, and they're just hanging back until they can, do more damage somewhere else. I mean, I think that's probably the best bet, but I mean, who knows, really. All right. Let's move on to the next story here. Libya at risk of declaring force majeure on oil production after militia attacks. So, Joe, I mean, we covered this story. What was it? 2 weeks ago, we saw the Libyans basically start pretty heavy fighting again. And it looks like they're putting a lot of pressure on the kind of the official government, though I think it's the GNA is what they call themselves. Anyway, and they're based out of Tripoli, and it's the Turkish-backed portion, whereas the UAE and Russia and a couple other countries and Egypt are backing Haftar. And so I think what we're seeing is basically Haftar showing that he's picking up steam. You guys know what force majeure means? Joe,
Yes.
you know. I know, but you know, I had to look it up just to double check because you know I thought I knew what it would. Well,
That's twice today.
no, I asked you. I said, "Do you guys know?" Because I had to look it up, Joe. I'm a smart guy, and I had to look it up. So I'm just making sure.
Week of people assuming that I'm some sort of an idiot. This is a great week.
I don't know how you could think that I'm assuming you're an idiot when I ask you if you know what something means. I was asking Watcher too. Watcher, do you know what force majeure means?
I actually, I mean, kind of. I think I do.
Yeah, that was where I was at about an hour ago. Anyway, the point is force majeure is basically like if something happens that allows you to back out of a contract because of something outside your control. In this case, the oil national. Let's see. I'll just read the story here. Libya's eastern government has warned of potential disruptions to oil production and exports following an attack by a Tripoli-based militia on the state-owned National Oil Corporation's headquarters. The threat of a force majeure declaration, so that's where this comes in, right? They declare force. It's some stupid French term. Reintroduces the possibility of a geopolitical risk premium in Brent crude markets already contending with oversupply concerns. Repeated attacks on the NOC and its affiliates may prompt precautionary measures, including declaring force majeure on oil fields and terminals, or relocating the company's headquarters to a safer city. Libya's eastern government said in a statement quoted by Bloomberg. The crisis deepens tensions between Libya's rival governments. One in the west, led by Prime Minister Abdullah Hamid Dbeibeh, and another in the east, backed by military commander Haftar. Libya produces 1.3 million barrels a day. That I didn't know. I had no clue that they were up and running on that much oil. I would have guessed it was in the mid 100,000s. Most of which
less.
That surprises me. But Joe, considering they haven't been fighting like all the time in recent past, maybe that makes sense. They've had some stability. Let's see. Most of which is exported through the Mediterranean and European markets. Any curtailment to exports could tighten global supply in the region. Libya's fragile political situation reminds us of the August 2024 oil shutdown, which basically saw in August 2024, the country lost more than 700,000 barrels of production per day in output as rival factions clashed over. Whoa. I mean, the peacemaker has entered the chat over on Rumble. Reverend Hazmat for $50 says, Scott, stop fighting with your dad on the show.
Oh, hey, glad you made it home, bud.
Oh, thank you, brother. We appreciate you. Yeah. I'm glad. Too bad, you had the car trouble at Watt, but at least you had a safe place to park.
This was on top of car trouble you already had here. So, Matt, I'm glad you made it. Good stuff.
Yeah, that sucks, man. I know the feeling. I've had car trouble recently too, so it's a pain in the ass. Let's see. The NOC has tried to maintain neutrality amidst Libya's civil conflict, but it's often caught between East and West. Whoa, Kaiser John for $50. Happy Friday, gents. Gentlemen, I feel like if you keep bombarding me like this, I might have to bring out the bourbon or something. You guys are. I'm just, the NOC rejected the Eastern government's allegations of an assault on its headquarters as fake news. The corporation continues its vital operations without interruption. The NOC stated, describing the recent incident as a limited personal dispute that was swiftly resolved. Prime Minister Dbeibeh is fighting for his political survival amidst the protest in Tripoli, a fractured government, and the constant risk of renewing clashes with rival forces. Let's see. Libyan National Commander Haftar smells blood in the water and is adding another element of pressure by threatening to disrupt oil exports, hoping that it will prompt the U.S. and others to push Dbeiba to step down. The threat is real, but the LNA is still weighing whether to move past the rhetoric and take barrels online. Whoa, well-armed Corgi over here on YouTube says, make it rain. God, guys, you guys are like...
Maybe you should call us idiots every day. And you
I know.
Every day.
Well, you know, I was being condescending maybe, but I wasn't
Word of
calling
the day,
you an idiot.
We could have a word of the day.
Keep it up.
All right. Traders did not price in global political risk premium when the report hit the wires this morning. In fact, Brent crude remains under pressure as investors weigh progress in the U.S.-Iran negotiations, which could bring additional barrels to market alongside expectations that OPEC may proceed with another output increase in July. Yeah, I mean, so this is making it's looking like Brent is around $65 per barrel. That's a little cheaper than I think most oil men want to see it. I think they're happy with it, or more closer to $80 a barrel. But you know, I mean, this is just one more kind of thing that shows just how tenuous the entire market is. And Joe, this is just, you know, the other thing that people forget about when they say Libya, it's literally just like a couple hundred miles from Europe, and they're like doing full on, like, you know, guerrilla warfare essentially. Just from a standpoint of a security kind of environment standpoint, how do you rate this as a threat to regular stability in that neighborhood, the Mediterranean?
I'm sorry, I was catching up on the chat because you were accused of missing a super chat, and I was correcting somebody. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you got it.
Did I miss a super chat?
You did not. You did not.
Oh, I did. Well, Marlene's here. Okay, it's payday for $5. Thank you, Marlene. Appreciate you. I did miss that one. I'm sorry, Marlene.
I was zoned out when you were talking, Scott. I apologize.
So just this, clearly this Libya thing is not, it wasn't like a 2-day fight and then it settled down. I mean, where do you think this says and does to the Mediterranean kind of security environment? I mean, Turkey's involved. All the major players in the region are involved.
So there's no unified national authority. There's no unified security apparatus. So what you end up with is stability in the cities, but the countryside winds up just being sort of a wide lawless area with no central authority. Kind of like the American Old West, kind of like almost every other nation in the Middle East, and any nation in which there is some sort of an ongoing insurgency. You end up having a citizenry that is much like the former Yugoslavia and such, where everyone spends their life just trying to avoid all of the authorities, no matter who it is, because an interaction with them is almost never positive. Libya can be selling oil and still be an absolute dump with no one really in control and no one at the helm. Each side claims to be the legitimate and rightful ruler, and each side has problems with their claims to legitimacy. And what it boils down to is how many nations stack up on each side and what's the status of said nations. I'll go ahead and go on record right now and saying that if Turkey is on your side and backing your claim to power, you probably aren't it.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, Turkey's got Turkey's interest in heart. You know, in the old days, you'd think, oh, a NATO member, that's a safe bet. No, not anymore.
No. Actually, Turkey never has been a safe bet.
But that's true. That's true. It's always been looking out for number one. But
if it was not for geography, Turkey would not be in NATO.
Yeah, it's definitely though. It's even more different though now compared to say in the 90s, right? So,
Yep.
All right. let us move on to our next one here, shall we? Now, Joe, this one, kind of your old stomping grounds, the contractor world. American contractors throw stun grenades at Gazans outside the aid site. So there's several interesting things I think about this.
If I may, real quick,
Yeah.
if you were throwing stun grenades at Gazans outside an aid site, you'd be wearing a Wasson.
You're wearing a what?
Oh,
Wasson.
the watch.
Wasson watches. Yes. Well done.
Yes.
I'm trying to convince Wasson to come on out here in July, so that would be cool.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me read the first little bit here, and I'll get your feedback here, Joe. The United States government has distanced itself from the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation's That's kind of hard for the United States to do when it's probably the United States that's paying for it, the federal government, or a part of it at least. After the aid group's initial attempts to distribute food in the famine zone outside the Rafah in the Gaza Strip turned to chaos, the State Department spokesperson Tammy Bruce made it clear in fresh statements that this is not a State Department effort. We don't have a plan. I'm not going to speculate or to say what should or should not do. There's tensions and a bit of a standoff between GHF and UN groups, with the later fiercely criticizing the lack of experience or track record of the former, which appears to have been authorized by the Israeli base largely on the founder's close relationship with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. It's shocking, Joe, that political connections has more to do with than anything else in a situation like this.
So these guys get stuck in all kinds of bad situations by virtue of simply being there to protect both sides and everyone who's around. Stun grenades is probably the best option. It could have been a whole bunch of other situations that happened. As I discussed before the show, there's no amount of money really that would get me to put myself into the Gaza situation. But I know that the American contractor world is gearing up for something American related in the region. So brace yourselves for more stories like this.
Yeah, this is definitely a great example of one of those stories before the story, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see something here in the next probably days or weeks to come. And then before I get on, did you guys see that the Hamas food warehouse that got overrun by Gazans, and they turned on the cameras in there, and lo and behold, there's like hundreds of pallets of food and like trucks, and they literally just pulled trucks full of food into these warehouse and just parked them there.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's almost like they were seizing the aid at the ports. I wonder if some descendant of Mohammed Farah Aidid is there as a advisor.
Well, yeah, let's see. I want to see if I can. Yeah, here we go. I'm going to share this link in the private chat.
This is why you need to understand food preparation. Food has always been used as a weapon, and it will continue to be used as a weapon.
You might even say the first.
Yeah, Watcher, do you see the link?
Yep, pulling it up now. Just making sure it's loading slowly, so I'm trying to make sure the video actually loads up.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Here we go. That should be enough.
ياجوج وماجوج ياجوج وماجوج ماتوا من الجوع حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل.
Yeah, if you don't have food preps, then this ends up being you.
The guy's got a really nice photographer vest on. Wink, wink.
I don't know why it's making the StreamYards just love to do that from time to time.
I want to point out that wearing that 511 vest with the Adidas shirt is sort of a whole new level of drip. He has unlocked levels never before seen, and you'd think that would be seen somewhere in the Slavic world, but here it is, making a crossover. That's a beautiful thing. And parachute helicopter tours, that's because contractors are mercenaries, always have been.
Yeah, so I'm just going to give it to you, chat, just so you're aware. For some reason, StreamYards randomly decides that on random days, when I share video, these guys' audio echoes. Don't know why that is. Just
hey, listen, it's not necessary for you guys to tell us there's an echo. We're fully aware of it. We can hear it too.
Yeah, it's painfully obvious especially if you're the one talking and then you hear yourself echoing, like like almost a full second behind. All right. Let me get back to the story here. Let's see what else is going on here. The use of American mercenaries to help protect GHF aid sites inside Gaza has also proven ultra controversial, and matters aren't going to be helped by the new footage, which has emerged showing U.S. contractors throwing stun grenades at Palestinians along the security fence. The footage circulated by Palestinian media purportedly shows members of the American security company throwing stun grenades at Gazans outside an aid distribution site in the Netzarim corridor area. It seems to be part of a separate chaotic incident after we reported Tuesday shots fired from American contractors. Watched with the footage. Okay, so yeah. So let's check out this footage here. So this first one is the footage of the people getting, like the stun grenades.
I was just him comes off the top rope in the chat.
All right. Yeah. So they're actually talking to him. If you
pretty good lob.
So notice that the first guy right there in the video is standing there with a stick in his hand. That justifies everything else that happens, right?
Well, you're not supposed to be on the fences, like flat out. This is security 101. Stay off the fences. See that first line of HESCO barriers? You're also supposed to stay off that as well.
Yeah, I've got a whole rule about folks of Middle Eastern descent and the HESCO barrier. And these guys got lucky.
Now, so evidently, they did end up giving out food, or the food got stolen. Like they just pulled back. There's another video here. Watcher, I just shared the link. And it's very interesting who they're crediting for bringing this food to them. It's probably Hamas. They probably like, hey, yeah, we support Hamas, right? That was what you think. Hamas doesn't want you to go to Americans. Bless the Americans. They're giving us food and flour. That's the leader of Hamas, is sleeping well in the air conditioning with his wife and children, forcing us to be steadfast. What is steadfastness? Come take a look at the people. They're hungry. A message from the people to Hamas. Give it up and go away. You have destroyed Gaza. For God's sake, we show us some mercy. Thank you, Trump. Hamas. Trump feeds us while Hamas starves us. Take note, everybody. Hamas talks about resistance weapons and steadfast people. But look how the people all over Gaza are going to get the Americans to get food. So,
that guy's probably already dead.
I got to say, though, he had a good polo before he died. I like that shirt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the irony is that I think basically what he's showing is a fairly broad view amongst the rank and file Gazans who don't want to be terrorists, who just want to kind of live their lives. and that is that they're sick of Hamas.
Kind of wondered
I mean,
if they're
but
handing out clothes too, because like so many of these dudes are dressed like fashionable mid-town people from like 3 years ago.
Well, but see, that's what they do. They get all these like bulk T-shirt things from like like hand-me-down food or clothes places,
Yeah.
and they export those overseas. It's just
Hold
like
on. The best part of this video is that the Hamas leader's son is named Al Nunu.
That's funny.
Oh no, it was before that. But anyway, Al Nunu.
Let me go a little further.
Who was that guy who said it? Right here. Next one.
Oh, okay.
Tahar
Nunu. That's pretty funny.
Always some there's some there.
So anyway, yeah. So this is going on. Like I said, I think that what you're seeing is essentially the story before the story, and if there's a hope for Gaza, it's in the attitude of these people who are pretty chill about the U.S. You'd think, Joe, that after all this bombing and all this death and destruction in the Gaza Strip, that they would be blaming America and like cursing America and cursing Israel because Israel's dropping American bombs, yada, yada, yada. Yet here they are. People everywhere have a natural desire to love Americans. The problem is oftentimes we stick our nose into places that doesn't belong, and everybody ends up hating us in the end.
But I would imagine you need to take a look at where the Center for Peace Communications comes from and find out who they are and where their money comes from and what conditions were. So, hey, if you say this, you get extra 3 boxes of food.
Well, yeah. If you notice that, if you notice that guy kind of turned up in a couple of the different clips, so it's not like this may not be something that most of them would want to echo. Juan Cholo, 1977, for $10 says, would Africa be more stable if the U.S. allowed American-based PMCs to hire themselves out to African governments? I hear there are restrictions on U.S., but private Russian and Chinese PMCs have a free hand.
There are plenty of American PMCs operating throughout Africa.
I was just going to say, I think probably a third of my Marine Corps friends all went straight into jobs, and I think probably a quarter of them went to Africa.
Yeah, there's a lot of them operating there. The only restrictions would be on what technology they can take with them, not necessarily on where they can go. You can't tell an American company they can't do business in a certain area. So the licensing is in the country that you are going to, not in America. So there are plenty of American PMCs operating in Africa. If you're interested, I can provide you a list. Sign up now.
All right. All you need is a pulse and a good and a honorable discharge.
You need a little bit more than that, but
there was a time.
Juan Cholo, that's on State Department contracts, not on contracts with third parties.
Yeah. I mean, so what you may not be seeing is like neutral or hostile governments able to hire PMCs. But let's be honest, if a PMC works in Africa, it's because the State Department has given them, or somebody else has given them the thumbs up.
You can't go into Mali and work for Mr. Terrari, but you can go in there and work for Chevron all day long.
Right.
Or Exxon or whomever.
All right. Anything else on that topic, Joe? I think we kind of beaten that one to death.
Yep. Good. You had a $10 one somewhere.
Yeah, I got that one. The Juancello one. Yeah.
That's one we just answered. Gotcha.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I sometimes do my job competently, Joe. I mean, give me some credit. Don't call me totally incompetent.
It's not nearly as funny as you think.
Oh, it's really funny to me. All right. Speaking of stuff that we need to talk about, tactical-wisdom.com. What's going on over there today, Joe?
Nothing.
All right. Moving on to the brushbeater.store. I mean, nothing. What was your article about this week?
You didn't read it?
I have not read it. That is true.
My goodness. I wrote an article recapping last week's events and classes and explaining why you need community and why you need to get
this article.
And actually get out and meet people face to face. It's way more than meeting them online. You can't build trust and you can't build relationships online. You have to actually get out and meet each other face to face. By the way, a great chance to do that is coming up in July at the Shield Field Days right here in sunny Big Fork, where it was 80-something degrees yesterday. Nice day. We're going to have a lot more nice days coming. So come on out. Hang out with us. And hey, if you want, check out the training schedule and maybe register for a class or two. There'll be a class the weekend before, and there'll be a class the day before. So come check out what we got going.
That's a good shot, by the way. Before we move on, that's a nice.
That
picture.
photo was taken by a Canadian friend who came down, braved the borders to come and attend class, and we're just hanging out around the fire.
You know, Joe. I think it's kind of ironic that it's easier for a lot of Canadians to get to where you're at than your compadres in America. But it's the tyranny of distance. But still, you're absolutely right. You can get an introduction online, but you can't you can't make real connections online. And I won't lie. Like, I had hundreds of hours of conversation with you, but until we got a chance to sit down and actually look each other eye to eye, I mean, it was not the same thing, right? And
Right.
Now all the other stuff that came before made it really easy to once you do it in person. But once you do things with people in person, it solidifies something that just is not there in online relationships. Yeah. I think that's a great sentiment, Joe. And you're right, Watcher. That's a great image. All right. Oh, crap. Hold a second. Talk a little more, Joe, while I get the brushbeater.store ad up.
Okay.
I
Brushbeater, because he did not run a Memorial Day sale, is running a blowout on all digital mobile radio. So if you want a DMR radio like the DM32 or the Aubrey F8, one of these bad boys here, a great chance to get it is right now. I think he's running 10% off all digital radios, trying to move them and convince people that digital mobile radio is a good tool. Good way to go.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Until I saw that DM32, I was not aware just the difference between digital radio and analog. I mean, I know there's a difference, but I think the digital radio is really powerful based on everything I've been seeing, specifically about that model. And I know there are a lot of others. And I know I've used digital radios in the past, but it's one of those kind of things to use them in the military and then use them in the real world, like civilian versions. All right. Today we're revisiting the domestic turmoil of 2020 And we're proud to bring you another ad for our trusted sponsor, the Brush Beater Store, equipping you to stand ready in chaotic times. The 2020 BLM riots shook America. Looting, arson, and street clashes left cities like Minneapolis and Portland reeling, with over $1 billion in damage and dozens of lives lost. Tensions are still simmering, as we'll talk about today, and unrest can flare up at any time. At brushbeater.store, you'll find the gear to protect yourself and your family. The Tiny SA Ultra Spectrum Analyzer scans RF signals to detect surveillance or rogue comms, keeping you ahead of organized threats. The Kyber Optics MDO, exclusive to Brushbeater, is a rugged red dot for precision and close quarters defense, perfect for volatile streets. For tactical know-how, the spiral-bound USMC scouting and patrolling manual delivers proven strategies to navigate and secure your ground. Check out brushbeater.store/collections-optics or collections-field-manuals to gear up now. Use our exclusive code CFC10 at checkout for 5% off the Tiny SA, Kyber Optics manuals, or gear like helmets or training courses. Orders over $100 shipped for free. Visit brushbeater.store and prep for the storm. A huge thanks to Matt, owner of the Brushbeater Store, for his unwavering support of the channel. Matt, your dedication to the Council on Future Conflict and our community's resilience is unmatched. Thank you. Head to brushbeater.store, use code CFC10, and stay ready for any conflict. Now, let's get back into the episode.
I'll tell you, though, that MDO is a really nice optic.
I definitely want to check that out. Yeah, I want to check that one out. And it's reasonably priced too. You know, it's crazy. If you don't have some crazy name brand on it, all of a sudden things get shockingly affordable.
Yep.
Hunch Dirty Roofer gifted 5 subscriptions to the Future Conflict chat over on Rumble. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. All right.
Time for an interesting segment.
Yeah. So this one is a little kind of, spicy, and especially for me, right? Because I don't generally like to kind of go down this rabbit hole because it makes it look like, like we don't like people of various races or whatever, but that couldn't be further from the truth. I mean, if you've been following this channel for a while, you know that I truly think that the problems in communities are almost entirely cultural. I think that, individuals, C. Westby gifted 5 subs over in Rumble. If you guys aren't in the Rumble chat, you're missing out. I know YouTube chat's good and all, but the Rumble chat's killing it today. But yeah, I mean, so I think
you know what? Should we transfer to Rumble on this Domestic Friday?
That's not a bad call. Let's give the people on YouTube time to move over. Let's see. Let me share the Rumble link over in the YouTube chat.
Yes, because YouTube will not like the next topic. I'll leave it a little.
So there's the link in the chat over on YouTube. Follow us over to Rumble. We'll continue this conversation over there, and trust me, and we'll keep it real. I mean, black fatigue is a thing, and we're going to talk about it on Rumble. So I guess I'm looking at the YouTube chat. I see some of you guys are moving over. The numbers appear to show that YouTube is diminishing. All right, Watcher, let's go ahead and let's
hit it.
Let's play the thing.
2, 0, 1.
It's 11:59 at Radio Free America. This is Uncle Sam with music and the truth until dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone.
3, 6, 4, 6.
The chair is against the wall.
3, 6,
The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. John has a long mustache.
82509.
It's 12 o'clock, Americans, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the lines, this is your song.